Oh yeah, don't worry, you will. James, hit it.
Okay,
Are we on?
you're on.
All right, so I'm sitting here talking to Leonard Copsey, and I'm very fortunate to have him here. And Leonard, how old are you now?
I'm 95.
When did you, where were you born?
Right there at Horseland.
And describe the place where you were born. Were you born on a farm? Were you born in a house? Were you born on the water? Were you born in a hospital?
This is a long story. The place I was born at is called the Horse Landing. And that was a steamboat landing there. The old building my father got married and he fixed a steamboat, old house up, and a steamboat moved out of it. And went on, wouldn't come in there no more. The steamboat were coming in there, because my oyster plant sits there now. I got a scow on that oyster house. It's 40 feet wide and 60 feet long. That was a scow they used to take the hogs, chickens, stuff out aboard the steamboat. The steamboat pulled in there, but it couldn't come ashore, but in a big pile like that. And he fixed that house when I was born in that old house.
Actually in the house.
I was born at Josephine's mother was they lived over in Delaware at the time. I married back when he born. I was born there.
What was your mother's name?
Lily Costa. Lily Birch. She was a Birch.
Is it B-U-R or B-I-R?
B-U-R-C-H.
What was your father's full name?
Freeman Edward Costa, I guess. My name is Leonard Edward Costa.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
Just three brothers.
3 brothers. So the steamboats the water wasn't deep enough for the steamboats to get in,
No.
so they'd have a scow that would transport everything to the steamboat.
I talked to my Josephine's father, and he said they all in Law Grove came down that old back road, old Horse Landing Road, and they would bring the stuff down there, and they would load it on that scow or the old house. They'd put stuff in the old house. The steamboat pulled in there, they loaded it on the steamboat, put it on the barn. Me and my grandfather at the barn on that steamboat for the it was a night and a day we went over there.
Would the steamboat come once a week, once a month, how often do you think?
I think it was every 2 weeks I think they come in there. I'm not sure, I swear.
Do you remember the boat itself?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
The old Anarama.
I don't see it.
What was your first job as a young man? Tell me. You don't want to know.
I worked on a farm there of my grandfather.
What was your grandfather's name?
John Edward Copsey. He bought that place in 18-something. I got all the papers on him, 18-something he bought it. He paid $2,100 for it.
Is that the same farm where you are?
That's the same farm I'm on now.
And what was the primary crop?
Tobacco. And then time I dug the grass out of it back when it was rain. Them days it rained, buddy. It rained weeks at a time. I dug the grass out of it. So boy worked.
What was, where did you go to school when you were a youngster?
Log Grove.
How long did you go?
About 2 years at Log Grove Road. I walked all the way up that Log Grove Road to Log Grove. Mount Zion Church up there. Schoolhouse is still standing there in the back of the Log Grove. The old house is still there. Schoolhouse. I went there. And then I stood up there with my aunt for 1 year, instead of me walking that road all the time by myself. But on that Horse Landing Road was about a house in days. There was a little old church down there too. I went to up there. Well, I'm sure in that little place the church was at, something like this little church. And the graveyard was down on a little hill there, still on the same farm. I love to take the man died, I didn't take him.
How long before you left school? How long ago?
I went 7th grade.
And the reason that you left after 7th grade, was that because you had to go work on the farm?
Yeah.
A lot of people did that.
Oh, yeah.
ever in the military?
2 years in the Navy.
Oh, you were? How old were you when you joined?
I did join, he took me.
Oh, they drafted you.
We had to get on a bus, took the bus load to Baltimore, Army did. It was all stripped down and examined. And the Army doctor said, I can't take you. Well, you had a romantic fever when you were a boy, which I did, 8 years old. I never forgot it. And, a lot of doctors would listen at my heart. My heart would bump, bump, stop, bump, bump, stop, all my life. So I got a pacemaker now. I had a pacemaker 3 years.
Now, you said after 7th grade you went to work on the farm, but you have a love for the water. You've been, you did some work on the water, didn't you?
That's when I got married. When I got married,
What year was that?
1939, I got married, St. Joseph's Church. And that's what I tell you about that preacher there. Yeah. When we get married, he said, you know, today's Friday the 13th, do you want to get married today? I said, I don't believe it then. And his Catholic priest, he said, damn if I do either. He said, I don't forget that.
And by the way, today is Friday the 13th.
Yeah. That's when I said something come in the door, I thought about it.
That's a long time. Was that in St. Joseph Church in Morganza?
Yeah, same church, yeah. But I get mine inside.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
long
right.
story, you want to hear that.
But let me ask you this. So you were talking about when you got married, that's when you fell into working on the water. Or
Yes.
explain what you mean by that.
Well, my grandpa gave me a piece of land on top of the hill. I built my little house, and I went crabbing. And on the shore there, I built, had a big pot. People come out the forest, come down and bought my crabs every weekend. Then one day, the old oystermen were working in the Tucson River, and they asked me, well, man, John Chase, he said, why don't you be some oyster plants here? So I did. And I built an oyster plant and made oyster business.
Did you have boats?
Oh, yeah. And most all of my men worked for me, a lot of 50 head of them, right?
You had 50 people working for you?
Catching oysters, yes. Now, I didn't ship all them oysters in my plant. I had a truck there. Every night we loaded. And like 200 bushels at a time, I put on a truck to go to a wood field, not a shop house.
Where was Woodfield?
That's over Gales Hill, isn't it? Gales.
Over in Anne Arundel County.
Yes, I don't know.
So they would, you take them all the way up there.
Yeah, give me $2 on a bushel.
They paid you $2 a bushel.
Sometimes they would measure me, but it always works out right.
That was a good day, 200 bushels.
Well, them boys really put oysters in there, my Lord, yeah. Nice.
Didn't we have shucking houses down here in St. Mary's County? Or
Charlie Davis.
Charlie Davis? Down the ridge?
Down the ridge. I think he had 91 shuckers.
Really?
Yeah. I bought many oysters from him, already shot.
But where would you sell them?
Washington, D.C. On a Wednesday, I had a man special on a Wednesday. He would come, and I had an extra truck loaded. He would go all the motels and hotels in Washington and sell it, you know, like that. But the big, up there like Claxton and Washington, Fish Exchange, all those people, they bought wholesale.
Was this during the 40s? After you got married or in the 50s?
Oh yeah, they got married, yeah.
Oysters were plentiful that day. They provided a lot of jobs, didn't they?
Yeah. So all the banks in St. Mary's County come see me. Don't loan me money if I got that business. But I told John Roots one day, I said, your father put me in business. Man Roots come and see me, he said,
Dr. Roach's father.
yeah, Dr. Roots' father. And he said to me, love anything you want, I'm behind you, go get it. Go to the bank. So I went to the bank. Well, I want my guy. And God knows he died. I don't know it, mister. I paid it right out of the road.
What business was he in, Dr. Roach's dad?
He run a bar.
Oh, you ran a bar?
Yeah, right there, McCann's, I got a little bar there. And then one in the roads parked together, roads in Chestnut parked together. Because there was a piece of land I bought beside the road now. I got my business at a little place there. I bought that road.
So you really were in the seafood trading business.
Buck Briscoe,
Yes.
he was a fine man to me. He done, he right behind me. And I got in the Safeway stores, all in the stores, And he got me, and I canned horses. I used to have a big cannon in my horse house. What you do, put them in there, put them in the kick about as fast as you still can. I had one man, Frederick Merlin, used to buy close to 1,000 pints a week from me. His name was Carmack, and he all didn't go on now. And I'll never go down to Clinton, over there. I'll never go over there, but still, it'd be too deep there all the time.
So would you say you started your career after you got married in the seafood trading business?
Yes.
And when did you get into the seafood hospitality business, restaurant business?
In the 46, I think.
1946.
Maybe 44, 45, something like that. Because I had to be tied up in the Navy, they say 46, about 48, 2 years now. I was signed up to go. I was waiting for them to call me. And they helped me up because they had to see what that bomb was going to do here. So when they dropped that bomb, a year later I got my discharge. I started living on the boat down here.
On Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And I dropped that bomb, I've been in Japan.
So when you got out of the Navy,
I went and drifted in.
you did. Who owned that then? Or did you build it, or how did you?
I built it myself.
Oh, you built it.
Yeah. As I was telling you, under my horse house that I built, it was the same sky that hold on the tobacco out of horse landing there. And you want to know why they call that horse landing?
I do.
You do.
Why do they call it horse landing?
Well, Mr. Dodge, he didn't go on that. He used to be a man that
Norton Dodge.
Norton Dodge. Yeah.
Ramon.
He used to be in he's a, education, high education.
Yeah. He was a Russian specialist.
He sat and told me how horse landing got their name. I said, all right. The British come up the Tucson Road.
Yes.
And they landed in Battle Creek, that's close to them.
Yeah.
But on this side, the water was shallow water. And they landed all the horses on this side. And they come ashore there. And then they landed there, they went up. That's what we call it horse landing. And then they went up Old Horse Landing Road, so we got there up the Log Road, and the fleet went on over the Potomac, so they run into the boys over here.
Yeah.
And that backed them up. They had to come back then, and he said, and they went to Benedict. And instead of Benedict, he said, 2 months before they made the mind what they want to do. He said, they ate up every chicken, now come down there. And so, the left there went around by Baltimore, they come in back of Washington City, about Capital. That's what he told me.
Wow. That's good history. And I'm familiar with that battle of Battle Creek you were talking about.
And that boat is sunk away, one of the boats is still sunk there. But they were supposed to get it up, but they said they were going to fall a piece, and said, well, I talked about getting that to scrape the water. But they didn't do it.
But horse landing was also a steamboat landing, is that?
That was, but Richard Nutt said it wasn't, but it was, I know.
Because you saw it yourself.
Yes, I did. And a big old pond used to be out there with a steamboat going in that all the time.
How old were you when you got married?
20. I was 20 years old, 21, something.
All right. So when you were 10, you were back in the 20s.
Yeah.
And the roaring 20s. So, I mean, they had steamboats back in the 20s.
Oh, yeah.
What was the closest other steamship landing?
Sandgates.
Oh, in Sandgate. Sandgates was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I went to Sandgates one time, me and my grandfather got on a steamboat back. I went to Baltimore one night.
Did they still have to the steamboat stayed out in the river, or was it able to come ashore?
They had to come ashore down there, the water was more deeper down.
Okay.
They come right ashore down there. And they stopped at Trent Hall, I think it was, and crossed the river at Sheridan Point, stopped there, and Bellevue stopped there, and
Yes.
on as far as Nottingham, I think it was.
So, you built Drift Inn in the 40s, 1946.
Around, I said 44, 45, something like that.
45.
Three or four.
And you've been in continuous operation
Yeah.
since then, haven't you? Probably the oldest crab house on the river.
Well,
Continuous.
I'm the second crab house I ever built there. Captain Sam Bailey built the first one.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he built the first one. I built the second
You mean, but his was over in the 7th,
one.
right?
On the center.
On
Captain Sam, yeah.
White Neck Creek.
Right.
And, oh, so that was the first one. Captain Sam built the first one.
Built the first one.
Were you and him pretty good friends?
Oh, yeah. We worked together.
Tell me a couple stories about it.
I don't know too much about him. I know Eddie Bailey, but he worked well.
Yeah, his son.
Captain Sam always met him.
When did you first meet my grandfather? Tell me the story about that.
I don't know what he was doing, but I done it.
Doesn't matter.
It was a good leg.
Yeah, well, that was the way it was.
Well, it's like
Tell me about it. I want to know about that. People want to know about that.
Well, I tell you, times are bad these days, buddy.
Tell me how it worked.
Well, I don't like talking too much about that bootleg today, but still, everybody in the county bootleg.
Right.
I can go around there and name it. Say, you got something to this thing, that thing.
No, I know all my mother's people did over the 7th, Blackstone's.
Last time I got in trouble, your grandfather got me out of it.
Tell me how it worked out.
It worked that fine. Because I didn't have nothing to do with that still. But I could build a burner, which I built these burners out of gasoline, burners, to go in that still. That's 300 gallon still. I had whiskey come down the swamp 30 minutes. It was so hot, And it sounded like a jet plane coming. I was down there on Mr. Poe Russell's place, fixing that burner for Lawrence Buckler was. And the revenue man come in there. And I looked up and looked at him right in the face. We blacked our faces. He didn't know who I was. But the man said who I was. And he took me to Baldwin, and I got your grandfather. And told him what I'd do. He went on to Baldwin and got himself a buddy. Next day, boom, took his teeth out.
Do you remember this case called the gun latch case? Gun latch, you ever remember that one?
I heard of it.
You don't really remember much of it. A lot of people were making whiskey back then.
Everybody was.
Where was this? In the 30s, 40s, or 50s? Or?
When I first started, I started all that now.
Yeah.
When I first started, I got out of school then, and my uncle got me into it. I worked on the farm there, wouldn't make no money, you make no money. He told me, come on with him, he would make some whiskey then. Everybody make whiskey, all of them. Right, make whiskey. So that's where I first started that with him. Until I went in the seafood business. I went in the seafood business, I just gave it up. Too much money in the seafood business.
But, well, I hope that comes back with the copsey bill. And
I'll have my time with my grandchild. I told him last night, I said, I'm tired of waiting now. I said, let's get this thing going. I said, I'm every day goodbye, I'm getting old and old. I probably won't be here. Now, he won't know what name they put on it. I said, I don't want my name on it.
yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll come up with something. But I remember you told me a story about what kind of crop you use with whiskey because it rye gives you what 50 to 1 or something. Explain how that works with the different corn. Tell me about that. I'd like to know that.
Well, we made all our whiskey out of rye and sugar. All strictly copper.
Strictly copper.
And I think it had to be copper. I know people had big steels one day that used galvanized coal down the swamp and all that stuff. And you just put a line, they might make it work, but it will time hot. No. The cops make good whiskey. I know a revenue man said one time when they caught a load of whiskey going to Washington, they could tell where it come from. So they all kept a case for themselves. You take rye whiskey, it's a smooth, but that corn whiskey, you take corn whiskey, you run it one time, it's dead.
Right.
You take wheat whiskey, you set up wheat, you go 3 or 4 times, it's dead. You put rye in there, rye will go 16 times, just shooting it back. That's how much life rye got. Rye got more alcohol into it than any other grain you got. So, but see now, what they make today, I think gas oil is making out of corn.
Right, that's all.
And they ain't make it right. They run it, they worked it off, well, I understand it. And they leave too much water into it. Now if you want to make straight alcohol, you got to get the water out of it. So what I used to do is take a big still and fill it full of mash. And say, what I would say, 16 boxes of whiskey. Take all the mash out still and wash it up. Put the 16 boxes of whiskey back in still. And rerun it.
Run it again.
They come out 160 proof. You only get 8 cases. Then I used to put it right in my automobile and run it. There's no water in there. You got to get the water out. And that's where you got to get that double stuff.
Where would you take it to wash it?
Most of it we want.
Most went to New York. When did Prohibition end?
I'd be a number.
It was in the 30s, wasn't it?
I think it was the 30s.
Were you doing all this in your in the 30s?
I never started, I got, let's see, 35, I think I started.
1935. Let me ask you this. What do you think, what was the population of the county back then, do you think? 20,000?
Might not have been that many.
Tell me about 235, the road. It was just a single lane back then, wasn't it?
No, dirt road.
It wasn't even paved, was it?
No, my God, no, it was sand and gravel.
Where was the first stoplight between Laurel Grove and Waldorf? Was there one?
I don't believe any.
How about Laurel Grove and Marlow Heights? Was there ever any stoplights in
I
there?
don't remember my stoplights in place.
What do you think the biggest thing you've seen is the change in St. Mary's County over the last 50 years?
Well, they put that naval air base in there, And I was a foreman.
Oh, down in the base?
Yes, I was a foreman for the railroad.
Oh, I didn't
When
know.
they built that railroad up to St. Mary's County, I was a foreman. I used to go and take my boys on the truck, cab on the job at home, and I worked on it for a long time. And then I got tired of it. When I worked in here, then I got tired of going about seafood business.
Was this clearing the right-of-way with your
No lane tracks.
land tracks?
And most of the people I had were out of state type people, like, there would be a fuss about the blisters on their heads. You could find yourself another job. A little aggravating, I couldn't stand it too
I
much.
had a job once with Charlie Basford in the summer, and we were paid 25 cents a tie to pull those ties off the tracks.
Where were you
And
working at?
between Leonardtown Hollywood Road and down at Roland Road.
You down that way?
Yeah.
See, I worked up this way. I sat down the truck and laid.
How long did it take them to build that railroad, would you say?
Took West Balboa.
Because it already had run to Mechanicsville, didn't it? Did the train already come into Mechanicsville?
No.
No.
Coming up at, what's that road there up at Maine? Eagle Street.
But where was the
It's
train?
right above it, Hughesville.
Oh, it went to Hughesville.
I say on the other side of Hughesville. That's
And then when the base came in, they ran it from Hughesville south.
on site, yeah.
And what did they carry? Was it just construction material to build the base? Is that why they did it?
Yeah. I was fussing some time ago, why did they tear that track up? We could have a trolley car on that track.
Yeah.
All these people going to Washington, they going to work that day. And they took all that.
I bet those were real boom times when that base was starting to be built.
Oh, yeah, it kind of come through the light. You go here all the way to see the point, you might see two houses. Nobody down there.
Before that.
Yeah. Nobody can.
How many children do you have?
I raised about 7.
How many grandchildren do you have?
Oh, no, okay. I don't know.
A boatload.
I don't know.
A whole lot.
I don't know. They had the paper some time ago, I knew that, so I had that.
You were friends with my father, weren't you?
I sure were.
What kind of relationship did you have with him?
He was just say with my father. I was with them when I want something done or something, they helped me out.
People are fascinated by, like the seafood business and the seafood industry, and the amount of people that it employed back, in the first 60 years of this century. But things have really knocked off a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah. I know when I owned my shopping house, I had most all of them colored people, most all women. I had one woman called me over the shop, 21 gallons of oysters every day. She was the best. And then I had a crab pickers, I picked crab meat in the summertime. And I had one of my crab pickers, she picked 35 pounds of crab meat a day. She was clean as she could be. She had a stroke about 3 years ago, and she's still living. Yeah, she's still living with Alexa Paul. Her birthday comes always down.
What would you do with your crab meat?
I ship it up to Clarkson Seafood and Washington Fish Trade and all that.
Yeah. When did you stop shipping crabs and oysters? What year would you say?
That's when I died right there. They got me out of it right there.
Well, you were to drift in at 45.
I run there. I cut the crab business like home.
60s?
Yeah, about 60. Well, the crabs got some scarce.
Did you ever have slot machines at the drift in?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
How many?
6, 7, 8 now, I think.
Everybody had them everywhere, didn't they?
And they belong to Lynn Hill and, I will tell you, Lynn Hill and Frank Abel.
Yeah, frankly.
Yeah. I had them by myself too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I still have machines like that, but the claw machine, the red things up in there,
Yeah, yeah.
and I pay, I buy my license in Town, each one of the machines, and I send the federal government tax on them every year. State of Maryland.
Yeah.
They don't charge me 2 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, you got a lot of my money from all my kids and my nieces and nephews that come down and play down Sandgates, the claw machine. Now let's go back. When you had slot machines, did you have poker and pitch games going on in your establishment? No, just a slot machine.
Yeah.
When do you think you first put in slot machines? In the 50s?
I say about around 50 years. Maybe a little less than 40s, I believe. Read back then.
Who did all the work on your machines?
Frank Abel had done, and Lynn Hill had men special for that.
Yeah.
But I used to work on myself too, I quit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Now, did you do much tobacco farming after you opened up the drift in?
Raised 20 acres every day, every year. 20
Oh, you
acres.
did?
They call it false land, but that farm is called Murray's Farm. I got close to 300 acres there.
Right.
And I went over and raised around 20 acres there. The man said, you never see a man so much business in his life. Come back up there one day up in the middle of the basketball, playing back up. And I had all this truck tires going, all of me working for you. He said, what are you doing? Well, I'm not a good job, man. Stop back too.
You employed a lot of people.
I put every I did. I payroll, paid a lot of taxes too, buddy. You don't want to get in that too much.
What was the, because you've always been involved in politics one way or the other, but what was the election that you remember the most over the last 50 years?
What do you mean?
I don't know, were you ever involved in any, an election yourself that you worked real hard for somebody?
Oh yeah. That's when Dick Arnold was in most of that at that time. Dick Arnold.
When he was county commissioner?
Yeah, at that time. I used to try to help some of you later.
He was the main man out at State Highway.
Yeah.
A lot of jobs back then. But the county back then was probably 5-1 Democrat, wasn't it?
Yeah, most different.
Changed a little bit.
I'm a strict Democrat myself, but I changed it. I did change it 2 years ago to help the poor man out that died, you know, and then I changed it, helped him, I didn't even do it, you know. But I tell on, I was a Democrat.
Oh, you changed to Republican 2 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I meant to go back there and change it back.
Yeah.
Because I've done it for him.
I wonder who the,
He's a county commissioner.
okay.
Down the county.
Paul Chesser, maybe, I don't know. Probably law from the, I don't know. But Leonard, let me ask you this. It's just amazing to me that all the changes you've seen in St. Louis County over the last 95 years. And it's really interesting just to listen to what you have to say about school, tobacco, the water, the jobs, how the base came. We certainly have a lot of stoplights nowadays, though.
We should have one at Oregon.
Oh, you say you need another one?
No, we should have, no, I say we should have a light at Oregon right now.
You mean it like North St. Gates Road or somewhere around
Above
there?
that,
Above that.
Oregon.
Okay.
You would turn on Route 6 go down my place.
Yes.
See, you gotta go way up the road and turn around, or go way down the road, turn around. It's an awful mess there. And right across there, Route 6 going back through there, they must build 100 houses right now in them woods. And they all got to come out this way or come out that way. Now it's an awful mess there.
What year were you born?
These number 26, 1919. 4 days of being 1920. A long time ago, I can tell you a lot of stories I've been through.
Was your father in the war?
Oh yeah,
World War I?
me and his horse together a lot, we did.
How old was he when he passed?
85.
You spent a lot of time with him.
I almost all my life, except for him till
He used to tell you stories about,
my grandfather, Parker raised my teacher, Johnny McCutcheon. Wherever he go, ball anywhere he make, or he got me to go.
did they ever tell you any Civil War stories that you remember?
Well, he did tell me that the copses, all the woods down was copses. The old man Lenny Copsey, old man Lenny Wood, his name was Lenny Copsey. And during the Civil War, he changed his name to Lenny Wood. And that's what.
Now, what would he have been to you, Lenny Copsey or Lenny Wood? Was he your uncle, your grandfather's brother, or?
I really don't know.
So in other words, when he went in the Civil War, he changed his name from Copsey to Wood.
Yes.
He never,
Chuck Wood just tell me a minute time about that.
it never changed it back. So the woods are the copses and the copses are the woods.
I guess a lot of that going on there years ago.
That's funny.
Billy Sterling was he used to take care of my taxes. Billy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, taxes.
Did you used to bring it over here to Leonardtown to him?
Yeah, he took care of my taxes for a long time.
At his little yellow building?
You go in there, you could find a desk with papers.
He was in there with my grandfather.
Yes.
They were partners.
Your grandfather, what I was telling you about going to Baltimore, your grandfather done that for you. Not your father.
Yeah, I know. No, you told me that. Yeah.
He talked about the dry.
I was in federal court.
Yeah.
But Leonardtown was sort of the hub of the county back in the...
Yes. I think the last man was hung here in Leonardtown was hung.
The last what?
Man was hung here in Leonardtown.
Oh, yeah, I know. I read something
A
about
man,
it.
a man, J.D. Love, I think he was sheriff. I was a little boy, I don't know.
Do you remember that?
J.D. Love, he was a nice boy, his father too.
Is that what Loveville is named after? I know his cousin Mark. But probably did that right at the courthouse.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
There was a lot of bar rooms back in Leonardtown then, wasn't there?
Goddamn right. A lot of slot machines there too.
And of course they had, Park Avenue section and then, there was the white and the black section
Yeah, that's right.
for everything.
Yeah. And that whole shuffled together.
Yeah.
Well,
That's another change that you've seen over the years, that whole era, you've seen that change. Now, let me ask you this, because before the bridge, Thomas Johnson Bridge, that was, I think, opened in '77 or somewhere around there. But did you have a lot of friendships across the river over in Calvert County?
oh yeah, a lot of cops are out kidding me. Webster cops, a lot of cops are out kidding me.
So a lot of them moved over across the river
Yeah.
and raised their families. You remember traveling over there when you were young?
Oh yeah, good Benedict, yeah.
What about Brooms Island? Was that a happening place, or was Benedict more?
Brooms Island, they had the Denton shuck ice down there.
Oh, they
They
did.
had the shuck a lot of oysters down there, Denton.
As many as you?
Oh my God, yes, oh yes. And they used to plant the whole Patuxent River down oysters all the time, seed oysters. Patuxent never did raise much seed oysters, but haul them in that big boat, I did too.
Yeah.
Last boat I bought in there, thought that was down here, south, down the ridge board in there for me. How much money I paid for that boat? It was $20, $25.
Was it a bi-boat or?
Yeah, by boat, we bring the seed oysters.
Yeah.
So I planted that year, and I made 2 or 3 payments to the state of Maryland for the seed. Now, I had to buy the seed through the Maryland.
Yeah.
They called me some years ago, wanted to know if I could sell me some more seed. I said, are you going to give them to me free? Then I told them the story of what happened last time. Oh, he said, what did they tell you they had the eviction to? I said, no, you always should have told me. I lost that money. I never got none of that.
How many acres of oyster ground did you have over the years?
I had 30 acres of Patuxent River. We had more than that. In other words, Wycombe, I had 15, 20 acres over there, more than that.
But it's really strange what has happened under the O'Malley administration, where they sent out all these letters to different people about your ground.
Took it away from me.
Yeah, it took mine as well. Did you ever understand all that, or?
I went after it the first time. It don't make sense to me.
No, you pay every year. And,
They called me up some time ago, said I could get it back if I wanted.
Right.
But I had to buy the seed and put on it, and I had to curl the seed and put it back, it's like do a ball and all that stuff. I don't do it more. You take a chance buying those old seed oysters.
How about clams? Did you have anything to do with them?
I was the first one to put a clam boat in the Tucson River.
Oh, you were?
First one. We shot, some days we, around, I think around 130 bushel one day we put up. And we used to haul clams to the eastern shore. And in the summertime I had an oyster house shucking clams, I did. I shucked clams a long time. Too much on that quick.
What kind of clams were they? What was the name you called those? They weren't razor clams.
No.
Long necks?
Yeah, long as probably, yeah.
What was the most popular clam that we had in the Tucson?
That was most of the clam. We've got clams out there now by the size of fingernails. They don't get no bigger. You kill a duck and cut it short cold, they're chock full of them clams.
Oh, they are.
That's what they eat. The grass there no more.
No.
Don't be no more. Clam diggers, they get no more.
Did you used to also be in the fish business?
Fish business.
Or did you stick mostly to oysters, crabs?
I'm in the fish business too.
Oh, you were?
'Cause I had the biggest seine that sailed around the line in the river, the Tucson River, 600 yards I used to have.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So you hauled seine.
I fished too. Some nights I was there on the boat all night long. The tide got late, the moon got late, and all the same. I tell you, I've been in everything.
You really have.
I had to do it with a daughter. You got 7 children in the house. I lost one daughter, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And you had, somebody had to feed them. But one of my daughters died 24 years old. She died.
What was her name?
Peggy. And I was 3 years getting over that. I cried for 3 damn years.
Yeah.
I got the woods when I bust right across. I don't know why I couldn't hold. Yep, you lose a child. Now, that ain't hard on anybody. You know, I guess now. You find that too.
Yeah, I did.
I know it.
It's tough.
And the hard thing, you lose a child.
Well, I just wanted to, talk to you. And I've been doing this with people that I want to talk to for the last, I started before Christmas and then I had my problems and then I'm going to start. I started up with you. So I'm going to, if you think about it, if you want to talk some more one day, you let me know. But I don't want to push you, you know, I figured an hour is enough. You got a lot on your mind.
And I just come in here by myself. I got Jerry bring me over here, but I know he's aggravating on him.
Yeah, but I like to have Jerry here because he monitors everything, you know. So.
I don't know what the hell I do about it.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know what I do about it.
Exactly right. James, we're done.
Okay.
Leonard,